Hey guys.
I'm Bob.
I'm Barb. Together we make up
HetteshWorld.
So today's video is going to tell you guys how we plan our lives on the road.
We've had multiple requests for this video wanting to know how we do plan.
So we're going to show you step by step the most favorite time of our life. Seriously, it's a lot of work and a lot of detail, and we do it step by step, day by day, until we get the entire year planned out.
Yeah, we are definitely planners. With a big rig, you definitely have to plan for it.
Yep. So we're going to tell you how we do it, so stay tuned. This was a pillow we saw that RV America used, so we use it. Kind of now you can see where we've been and where we've not been. And for this year's planning, right now we're currently in Minnesota, but we plan to come over here to North Dakota. We've already been in South Dakota, but we're coming straight down all the way to Texas. So each year we kind of determined, where do we want to be, where do we want to go. The first year we decided we just wanted to be close because his family, his parents were older, so we wanted to be close to them. So we wintered in Texas, and then decided to hit like Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, that kind of stuff. And then the second year we decided to go out west. And then last year we decided to go down the East Coast. And this year we're going down the middle of the United States. But when we're doing this planning, there are a state, I should say, that's always very important. So no matter if we winter here or over in Florida or end up maybe someday over here, we always have to go home to, I'm upside down,
the blue state.
The blue state of Indiana.
Indiana.
So Indiana is where we're originally from, even though we're considered, let's see if I can do it while looking at the screen, Texans at this point is where we domicile. We got married in Indiana, we lived in Indiana, our children and our granddaughter are in Indiana, and they're in Indianapolis. So no matter where we go, all over the United States, we always have to start out to make sure that we leave our wintering spot and head toward Indiana and spend about 3 weeks or so there with the kids.
Yeah, and we always jump home at Christmas time without the camper. And then anytime any kind of emergency might arise back home, we'll shoot home, and either with the camper or with the truck.
Yeah, or without the camper.
Yeah.
So that's definitely how we start. When we start thinking about planning, we got to go to, no matter where we're going, we must start in Indiana, and then we have to figure out the route of where we might be going. And then wintering, so far we've taken turns wintering between Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
I will say that Texas is our favorite wintering place. Florida is nice, but Florida is
crowded.
Yeah.
If you look at the different sizes, look at the size of Texas, and you look at the size of Florida.
Yeah.
With the populations, I think Texas is double the population, but I think the state is probably 4 or 5 times the size. And then in the winter months, you get so many northerners coming down. Everybody wants the warm weather because Florida is normally pretty decent for weather in the winter.
Anymore. Yes.
Last year was a little bit crazy.
Yeah, it's trying to become like Texas and not be warm either.
But Texas, we'll go all the way down here to the southern tip of Texas and then kind of stay on the coastline.
Which is an experience in itself anymore.
And it's always, the weather's decent. I mean, there's days it'll get chilly. We've had days where it got, cold as it did back in Indiana, but for the most part, it's days pretty stable weather-wise. So we kind of use those two as our winter havens.
So when you're planning, obviously it's easier for us at this point because we've been on the road almost 4 years. So we kind of look at like where we have not been. But in the beginning, you have to kind of determine when you're starting this out. The first thing is, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to winter? And where's your family at? Those are the 3 things that you want to start out with. When we first started out, it was super new to us. We were 1,000 Trails members, and we purchased 1,000 Trails membership through Kimberly at Membership Outlet in Florida. Yeah. And we did it during COVID, but we don't regret it. I mean, we probably could not do this lifestyle if we did not have the 1,000 Trails membership.
Yeah, it's a huge savings for us. 1,000 Trails membership that we bought was used. Once that is paid off, you got a maintenance fee every year. It makes it so much more affordable for us to use 1,000 Trails. In our first year, we used a lot of it.
So this video is not going to be a detailed 1,000 Trails video. I am going to link below Living Our Dream Now. They have done tons and tons of videos on Thousand Trails reviews, campgrounds, and also membership.
Yep.
They're the go-to if you want to understand Thousand Trails and how it works, whether you buy from Thousand Trails itself, or there's other channels out there that talk more about the membership outlet, which we're more than happy to answer questions on that as well. So our initial membership was, I think, $4,200.
Yep.
And the fact that we've been on the road almost 4 years, we definitely paid that off in savings by not having to pay at a lot of campgrounds. But the first year we based it all on Thousand Trails and I think 2 state parks in Michigan that we paid for, that we got at a pretty decent price. So when you plan that way, Thousand Trails are sometimes out of the way, or a lot of times out of the way.
Yeah, they're not always on the beaten path of where you want to go see.
So then you're in a situation of like, okay, I want a full-time RV. We're doing it because we want to see America. So we did see a lot of interesting and really neat, beautiful stuff, but we didn't plan on what we wanted to see or search out things. So we were kind of sometimes stuck with what we had, or there might be nothing at all to see in some cases.
We started out doing 2 to 3 weeks.
Pretty much, yeah, 3 weeks. Sometimes it was too long in some places, though.
Once we got it nailed down to where we were using it in our favor, the Thousand Trails, it worked out pretty well.
No matter where we stay, we want the area to be someplace where it's something we can see and enjoy, and then also live in the camper if we want to on rainy days, or if there's a day we don't want to do something, or I'm working on a video, or Bob's doing RV maintenance. You know, we want to be able to have a place that we can also do that as well.
We're full-time RVers, but we're not full-time campers. So we live our life on the road.
Yeah.
We travel and we sightsee, but not a vacation.
We had kind of a stinky comment recently that we're just glampers. We're not really camping.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. We're not camping. We went from tent camping into this 44-foot rig.
Yeah.
But we're traveling around America, and we're doing it in our home, which just happens to be a recreational vehicle.
Yeah, which
So,
we love very much.
Get over yourself,
Yeah.
commenter.
Yeah.
But the second year we traveled, we did it based on this is the way we want to go. We want to go out west. These are the states we want to see. We hadn't really been to a lot of these states, so then what is there to do in each state? And then based on that, we determined where we were going to stay. And then Thousand Trails is pretty much on the outside of the United States with a few scattered inside, so then we had to pay for a lot of our campgrounds at that point.
Yep.
And that was an eye-opener as well, because the second year we tried to save as much money as we could, but then we were also in a couple places paying a lot. So the third year we did it, we stayed Thousand Trails most of the time, mixed in with some of the other campground choices we have.
Yep.
And then this year we're doing Thousand Trails, and then we're doing some other choices because we're going back kind of to the middle of the country where there are no more Thousand Trails.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Bob talk a little bit about now, based on the experience and how we've been on the road, the types of campgrounds that we stay at, you know, besides Thousand Trails.
Yeah, so we've kind of mixed it up, trails, and not always be able to use those. We find that the Corps of Engineering parks, which are just been absolutely beautiful, not always full hookups, usually electric and water. Sometimes
Usually.
Yeah, right now we just got just electric.
It's like we're boondocking.
So yeah, we're about as close to boondocking as you're gonna get. But some of them, we found some that have full hookups, but we found them all to be really nice. I mean, almost like state park like. So, and we've also used state parks. We've used county parks. We've used city parks.
Yeah.
We've used fairgrounds, which have been a really good choice. And those are kind of open parking lots type camping, not always the most desirable. It's nice to have a few trees around, but not enough trees where you have to worry about one of them come crashing down on you, especially in the windy, stormy weather. But we found the COEs to be our go-to right now.
We also stay at casinos from time to time, depending on where we are. So based on those recommendations of where we might possibly be staying during travel days, especially if we're trying to move quickly, maybe across a few states to get to where we want to start out, we're not typically staying at the places that we have mentioned.
We try to limit to 300 miles a day. So,
most of the time, yes.
And that usually works out pretty well for us. With that, if we're traveling, say, 600 miles and we break it in the 300-mile range.
So what do we do at that point? We've already researched it. We've already planned. We might be hitting a Harvest Host for an overnight. We might be hitting a Turnpike stop like we did in Ohio this year. Or we might stay at like a Love's Travel RV Park.
Yeah.
And then there's also Escapees, which we're members of. And they have several parks across the United States that you can stay at a discounted price 50% off. And Escapees is probably the last resort that we'll do because we're Escapees members, and they have certain parks around the United States and discounted parks that if we plan ahead of time, we can go ahead and make an overnight stop there.
Yeah, we look for places that are easy to get in and out because we won't disconnect from the truck and the trailer. We'll stay connected. So we try to find places that are really quick in. We can just, in the morning, we can take the levelers up and go.
Yep, that's the thing. So let's get into the detail of kind of how we start this. So we started off with our travel map of where do you really want to travel?
Yep.
And once again, where is your family and where might you want to winter if you're going to be spending time? So let's talk about this season that we've got, or in the midst of right now. We're actually in Minnesota. So Bob, talk a little bit about what you do with researching.
Well, what I do is once we figure out a route, so we know we want to go the northern route and work our way down to Texas, down to the center of the country this year. So what we'll do is we'll look at state by state. We'll pull up what is the top things to see in that state that we want to see, and then what Barb will do is plot them on a map.
So I use Google Maps, and I drop pinpoints in here. So I search my Google Maps. So I click on my Google Maps, and you'll see here that I have different states set up because we've already been doing planning. So how do we do this? We go into here and we hit create a new map. So I'm just going to kind of show you how we do this in a kind of like a general basic way. And we're just going to do Indiana just to kind of make it simple. But when we are in Indiana, we stay at Indian Lakes, Thousand Trails, and it'll come up here in Batesville, Indiana. So I'll click on that. I'll add it to the map, and then I choose to change the color. Like we're going to be staying here, so I'm going to make it red. So that way it stands out, you know, from different things that we want to see and that we want to do. And that way it puts it over here on the map, Thousand Trails, Indian Lake. It puts it here. And if you shrink it down, you'll see that you're in the state of Indiana here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in Indianapolis, Indiana. Typically, you would probably put in an attraction that you want to see, but our kids are in Indiana. And the whole idea is that you're kind of mapping out, these are the things I want to see. And then you can leave it blue or make it anything you want. I typically try to make them just stand out, so I'm going to make this one brown. But I've got two things on the map. Maybe I want to go to Cincinnati, Ohio. And these are more cities that I'm just kind of trying to give you an idea here. But what we try to do is put down different things that we want to see, that we want to go to. So we see that we're staying here, and there's Indianapolis here, and there's Cincinnati right here. So pretty much probably what's going to happen is I'm going to have a lot of things in here that, you know, I want to see and I want to check out, and there might be things here. So then when we're done listing everything on this map that we want to see in Indiana, then based on that, we determine where can we stay. I want to see a bunch of things in Indiana, so where can I stay? There's 1,000 trails here, so obviously we're going to choose the 1,000 trails. And then I also search by navigation, how far are the things that I want to see really away from this site. And if there's a lot of things I want to see up here and this is too far, then I will find a Corps of Engineer, I will find a state park, a national park, a city campground, a fairground. I will find something up here so I'm not driving forever to see the things that I want to see at a reasonable cost. So this is kind of basically where you started. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to open up North Dakota just to kind of show you, you know, these are the things we want to do in North Dakota. The Ronald Reagan Minuteman Museum, Painted Canyon Visitor Center. It's got one of the places on here that we want to stay at. Oh, this is interesting. The wood chipper from Fargo. Who doesn't want to go see the wood chipper from Fargo? But basically, you're determining, you know, this is where I'm going to be staying. I don't have our other stay on here at the moment, but how far away are all these things? And then based on that, we determine these are the things we want to see, and this is where I'm going to be staying, and this is phase one.
So once Barb puts all these pins on the map on that particular state, where are we going to camp close to those places? And that's where it gets interesting, because the state becomes very big when you put all these pins on the state, and we know we can't see everything in the state.
Yep.
You try to see what you can while you're in that area. So we'll start looking. We'll start first with 1,000 trails. Are there 1,000 trails in the area, North Dakota? No. Then we'll go to our COEs. state parks, city parks.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the basics. So what is around us, and how do I do that? I'm actually signed up to, and I'm going to take you back to the computer again, to this website called allstays.com. And people are going to give you all kinds of things. This is just what we use, and it's a service we pay for, and I think I pay $39 maybe a year for it. So I have a pro sign-in, and on the pro sign-in, you get signed in here. I do Explore All Stays Pro, and then Camp RV by state map. So we're looking at North Dakota right here. And then this is everything in North Dakota that you could possibly stay at. And what this means right here is that there's 80 sites that are right around Bismarck, I believe it is. But we start out with looking, because under here you have a choice of independent, like private campgrounds, KOAs, the Army Corps of Engineers, the Bureau of Land Management, county and city parks, state parks, national parks, national state forests, wildlife areas. If you're military, that's on here. Elk Lodge. I forget what ONP is, but I don't think it's anything that's important. We start out with the Army Corps of Engineers. So this tells me right now there's 1 here, there's 5 here, there's 4 here, and there's 4 here. So based on my Google map over here, I'll go back here and look at it and say, we've got a bunch of things, you know, that are over here in this area. You know, where should we be staying? What should we be doing? And we actually have another campground here, and I don't know why it's not on this map at this moment, but we have a campground that's going to be getting us more access to this stuff over here. Dickinson. Yeah, it's in Dickinson right here. And it's a private campground that we found. But we start out kind of looking here. So, you know, basically I open it up. We'll click on the Army Corps of Engineers. It gives you some information here. But this, by clicking on it, you can actually get to the website. And the website takes you to kind of like the Corps Lakes of Engineers or the Department of Natural Resources. And you can look at the different ones that they have open, and you can click reserve, and it'll tell you right away, because there's no Thousand Trails in this area. You know, you can put in your dates, it'll tell you what is available, and it'll also tell you if they have water, electric, sewer, which down the middle of the United States, I think once we get out of South Dakota, we run into ones that have all 3, which we're super excited about. Typically, they have water and electric.
Most of the ones.
Yeah, this is the first one we've encountered that we're staying at right now that only has sewer.
Yeah.
And I mean, has only electric.
It only has electric.
I wish it had sewer. Yeah, most of these places do have dump stations also. Once you kind of determine maybe this is a park I want to stay at, the next thing you want to do is go to Google Earth. We'll kind of search it here. Oh, probably just messed up. And don't look at it because it makes you dizzy if you got vertigo. Wait till it spins around. But here's the campground right here. So it's nice that you can see it from this view, but we're going to kind of try to slide in here to look at the campsites. So this is, I would think, the main office. A lot of times you look at, Bob, what is it that you look at when we're looking at this?
We'll look at the actual property, and you'll have a map that'll show you the actual sites, and we'll compare it to Google Earth or know what spot we're going into, because we know our length has to be at least 60 feet to be all comfortable in the site with our truck and the camper.
Yeah.
And so we'll look for the spots that are that length, and then we'll always look for a spot that's easy to back into. Some of the COEs, the roads are kind of tight.
Like this
and
one.
There's a lot of roads that break off campgrounds, so we'll look for one that we can use that road in our advantage to be able to get the arc of the trailer to get it into a spot like this one we're in right now. It was, we used the whole road to be able to get into this spot, and it was tight, and so we just try to do that extra research to give us confidence that we're going to be able to get in that site. But we use Google Earth because you can actually see the view of the campground. I mean, that's very important for Bob. He prefers to back in on the driver's side. Doesn't always work. Like here, it was my side, the campsite. Passenger side, yeah. You know, and even though it was kind of a back in, it wasn't. It was kind of all over. But what we try to look at Google Earth is we're trying to determine what does the site look like, what is the way we're going to get in, so then we can choose the appropriate site that will work for us.
and then we try to see what kind of trees are in the way. Sometimes we can see the little poles. Like at the end of our driveway here, we have all kinds of, there's a little stumpy.
They just got posts everywhere.
Yeah. Parks, stop putting posts at the end of driveways.
These campground, this COE was built in the 70s, so campers were small in the 70s.
RV size.
Yeah, so they're a lot larger now, so getting around this campground was fairly easy, except for some of the trees were hanging pretty low, but and the length of the campground's fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just getting the camper and truck to negotiate the back end turn to make it into the spot.
Well, and this year, this is the most we've stayed at COE, so we have learned a lot more, which we're going to be sharing in our COE review videos. Yeah. But one place we stayed at, it was raised up way high, and it was also had boards down the side. Yeah. So you had to make sure that you came in and you were close to this side because you needed to get to your electric and all that stuff, but you wanted to make sure you didn't go over and roll down the hill. And then even here, they've got the boards down the side, which are not always easy. We like an open driveway with no poles, no boards.
We travel with our Spider, so it's in the back, and we need to know that we can open the door and get it out and then be able to get past the camper on the driveway.
I mean, whether it's a COE, 1,000 Trails, or any place, we still use Google Earth to look at it. So the purpose of Google Earth is to really give you kind of a good overview of what you think you're going to encounter, but you always have to be responsible for yourself when you arrive at any place, because what you think you know may not be reality what it ends up being when you get there, because the Google Maps are also not up to date, not new, or whatever I would want to say.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can actually call the park and ask them about some questions, but you know, when you tell them you got 44 foot, some people 44 foot is 44 foot, and some people it's 20 foot. They don't care. You'll fit fine. You'll fit fine. Yeah. You'll get there.
Or they don't understand.
You can't fit in that spot, and so you have to determine whether the site will actually hold your rig or not.
What's nice with Google Earth, you can actually measure your site too, so then you know, like the COE or the 1,000 Trails, or someone may say the site is this long, and then when you get there it's really not. But on Google Earth you can actually measure the site.
Yeah, I use that a lot on my phone. I'll actually measure the site out, because we know when we're hooked up we're at 61 foot. Sometimes you have enough spot to park the truck to the the left or the right of the camper, and sometimes you don't. You have to put it sideways, but at least measuring it, you're pretty confident you're going to be able to get into the spot. So
starting out, it's determining your route, where you want to go, and your family, and your wintering, and then going to My Google Maps, and then kind of determining where do you want to really see. That's really the best way to do it. Yeah. What do I want to see? And then if you have a 1,000 Trails membership or some other kind of membership, are any of those close to the things I really want to see? And there may be a million things in the state we want to see, but we look for the majority of the things we want to see, and we try to stay around there. I mean, sometimes we've been an hour away from things that we want to see, and that's typically maybe based on pricing. Yeah. And then for the Corps of Engineer parks, we got
the senior, what is it?
It's the America the Beautiful.
So we have the America the Beautiful, and since I'm over 62, this was $80 one-time purchase. And the Corps of Engineering's, we found them to be anywhere from $28 to $40, but they're half price with this pass right here. So the park we're staying in right now is like $9 a night. Yeah. And we've only found them as high as $14 a night, which is $28 normally. So you can't beat it for the price.
And it also gets you into national parks for free.
Yeah, we've gotten our $80 back on this. Yeah. So along with all the digital planning on the computer or the phone, we still use the old paper map, which if you're young, you probably don't even know what a paper map is.
We're old school.
But these are nice because this is the national parks, and a lot of our travels is around national parks. So this will give you an idea what's at every national park, what's there to see. Side here, it's got the full map of the United States. So it gives you a really nice visual if you're going across the country, because sometimes it's hard to visualize where you want to go.
You know what you can't see visibly is me.
Yeah. This is just an individual map of the state of Indiana. We'll use this just for a visual on the states and in the whole United States, or the whole route, because this is a nice visual on where actually you're going, even though we still do it on the computer. Yeah,
I mean, the computer's nice because you can zoom in on the state and see this, but what's nice about that is we're talking about Indiana or we're talking about North Dakota, we can actually open it up and see the whole thing, you know. So maybe we're over here in Minnesota and we're going to be going over here, so then we're looking at the routes and all that kind of stuff as well. The next thing that we do is I also still do a hard copy of a personal map, and on the personal map, this is January and we've already gone through January, but we list every place that we're going, and this is kind of my record, hard copy record that's easy to pull up, no problem. If I don't have internet, I've got everything here, but it tells me the place that we're going to, the city and state that it's in. It shows me how much we're paying, and it gives me a reference code or something if I need it.
Yeah, we'll usually put the site number, what we paid for it, if we still owe money to it on that map. Still do it on our Google Calendar, so it's always there available, but this is just a hard copy in case something went horribly wrong. So
besides this, I also have everything in RV Trip Wizard. So if I bring up RV Trip Wizard over here, it's tripwizardrvlife.com, or you type in Trip Wizard RV. And this is a service that we pay $49 for a year to belong to. But I've got all of our reservations in here. And if you can see from our map, this is season 4 actually, and season 5, which we're in now. So you see that we've got them listed over here, every place that we're staying. And if you click on it, this R. Schaefer, we've already stayed at this campground in Georgia. So it's got the dates that we're going to be staying there. It's got the name and location. It's got the fuel costs. And then over here under comments, it's got a reservation number and what we paid and the site number. So that's always on here. And Trip Wizard has a lot of really cool things in it. I mean, what I do really like is that this is going to be 2 years of planning. And typically I break them out. So I need to still separate this one. But we left, you know, Texas a couple years ago. And then we came over here and went up the East Coast, and we came back down and wintered in Florida. And now this year, you know, we're coming up this way and we're going over here to the middle of the country, and we don't have it all mapped out yet. You know, we're going to be coming down through here. We're in Oklahoma, and we've just started booking some stuff in Texas. So if we come down here to the end, we've got Thousand Trails Lake Texoma here. So we need to finish this, but our plan is to, you know, kind of search out more of Texas that we've not really seen before. But it is really interesting to see all the places that you've been as well. But we use this primarily kind of as an organization of everything that we're doing and every place that we're going to. And you can see we have an Escapees Park. You can see that we have Thousand Trails and Encore parks on here. We have an RV Museum Hall of Fame, which is Harvest Host. We've got private campgrounds. We've got Love's RV parks on here. We've got COEs on here. So, and there's also, I think, a fairground and maybe a city park on here as well. But it's pretty interesting. And then a lot of times we will have it so the mapping comes on here so we can see how it, you know, what the route is. One thing that is neat about RV Trip Wizard is we do pre-program it ahead of time with the length of our camper, the height of our camper, the way that we like to travel. You know, we don't want to be on non-paved roads. A lot of times, I think it may be set up to avoid tolls, but you can't always avoid tolls. Yep. I mean, you can put a lot of information in there. And then this software is really good, too, that if you want to track all kinds of costs, your fuel costs and your stay costs, we don't really use it for that. We use it more as a tracking, kind of an organizational tool, you know, similar to this. This is the hard copy. That's the more detailed formal copy, as well as kind of a routing map. That's what we really use it for. But then from there, we take everything and we program it into. It's a GPS that's designed strictly for RVs, and it's a Garmin 890. And we have it set up 2 different ways. We got the car, which is the truck. So if we're not pulling the camper, we'll use this route. This will take us on different routes. So we have Blue Angel set up. What's that tell us? It gives us our measurements, our length of the camper, our total length, our height, and our 8.6 width, and our weight. What this will do for us is let us know if we're going down a route that's not within these parameters. So we've only had one time where it's actually failed us. Yeah, it's for RV travel, yes. So if we go to a map, if we're on the Blue Angel, it will now, every time we create a map, like we'll say some saved location, we'll say Eggers Landing, it'll create a map. It will take us down that route that's based on our parameters.
Please drive to highlighted route.
So it will give us our total distance, It'll give us our miles, it'll give us our routes, it'll give us, you know, an actual visual of the map. Of course, you can zoom in, zoom out on it. You can look at your actual directions, so it'll show you directions. This is our last resort on keeping us on a route, and we call them truck routes because it's the camper's 13.2. Even though we got it programmed as 13.6, we just know we want to make sure it'll warn us, let us know if we're going to go down a wrong road.
The Garmin is really, really good, but
Yeah.
it is not perfect. It's up to you to really know your route, and that's where Google Earth can come in handy too, as well as RV Trip Wizard, because the Garmin in Virginia last year told us, going to Virginia Landing, to turn right here. And we looked and we're like, it's someone's driveway. Is the campground behind the house? Do we pull into their driveway? I don't think so. And we actually resorted to bringing up Google Maps on our phone and navigating there, which is very sketchy because
It doesn't have any parameters for height and weight and all
doesn't
that.
have any protections. Yep.
Garmin also, you can download new maps 4 times a year. I think it will allow you to do 4 maps. Even though we do updates, sometimes we find the roads have changed, you know, in a short amount of time, especially the interstates. You know, a new exit been added, or a ramp's been changed.
I don't know how many times we're not driving on the map that it says we're supposed to be driving
I mean,
on because that road is gone.
It's rare that the interstates change that much, but it does happen. So we do try to download it. Our only issue is that you have to have really good internet to do that, which sometimes we don't have it.
Yeah.
And it's got a Wi-Fi feature, but we've never had it work very well on Wi-Fi to download a map unless we got really good internet that we're connected to.
Yeah. So every year we go through this. It's a very grueling process, which I don't know if you pick that up or not. But basically, you determine where do you want to go based on where do I want to winter and where is my family going to be. Then you plot what do I want to see in the areas that I want to go to based on that. Where do I want to stay based on memberships that you have or other things that are available to you. Because things that aren't involved in the membership, we will determine if we're going to stay there based on price as well. Because, you know, we are retired, this is our lifestyle, but
we still have to have a budget.
Yeah, it's rare that we spend a lot of money. We spent more money at Yellowstone the second year and at Tetons than probably we would have. And at Tetons we were an hour away and we still paid, I think, a lot of money to stay there. But since then, we've learned even more. So this is constantly a learning process. But, you know, based on what you want to see, then where can you stay, then how do I track it, you know, based on the atlas, based on, you know, if you do a hard copy, do you do it here, and then programming everything ahead of time and really understanding that route of where you're going and where you're going to be driving, you know, from that to RV Trip Wizard to Google Earth.
Yeah. Like we said earlier on, we're planners, so we try to do 6 months in advance. We can do that with our 1,000 trails, but we also try to do it with other parks we're staying in, because it gives us peace of mind. Even though life gets in the way sometimes and you have to make those changes on the fly, knowing that you got a 6 month route ahead of you and you know you got campgrounds, because we've had campgrounds that fill up pretty quick, especially some of these state parks. Like you say you're in Wisconsin, some states allow the people that live in that state first dibs on those state parks, like the first couple weeks when the parks open, and you can't always do a year in advance on those parks. There's a window. Sometimes you're 3 months, sometimes you're 6 months. So we try to give ourselves that window to where we can get it, you know, on our map and put into our itinerary.
I mean, it's a process that we don't like going through, but once we're traveling and on it, we love it and we enjoy it. So we hope that we've provided you with some insight. It's just basically kind of how we're doing it. We're definitely willing to answer any questions that you might have, or if you're going to be in Indiana, staying anywhere around Indianapolis or Cincinnati, definitely talk to us. That's our home base. You know, we had a couple recently, the ones that I mentioned earlier, Living Our Dream Now, that we tried to make sure they understood everything that they could see and do, so we can be a trip planning guide for those areas if you ever want to contact us for that.
Yeah, at least some of the states that we've seen so far. I mean, we've scratched the surface of these states. When you get in these states and you start doing planning, you realize how big the states are. You can only camp in so many spots. When we first started, we want to stay in we want to see everything we want to see in that state. Well, it's impossible. No. It's just really impossible.
I mean, once we fill up our map, I think then it's going to be us going back to the states that we really want to go back to and spending more time there. Some states we've maybe only spent a weekend, some 2, some a month.
Yeah.
But it's just based on what you think in your head is what you think you need to see, and then once you get there, you're like, crap, there's all this stuff and I don't have any time to see it. Like, the biggest thing is when we went to San Francisco, we started traveling the second year week to week to week to week to week because there's so much with the itinerary of going out west and everything that you want to see. When we got to San Francisco, Bob said to me, we're not going to go out every day, are we? I said, we're going out every day at San Francisco. We got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And we only got 7 days. And one of it's getting in and one of it's leaving. So it takes it down to 5. I think maybe we find too that when scheduling at a place based on what we want to see, we typically will stay anywhere from a week to 3 weeks. So what's Bon Jovi say? It's my life. It's now or never.
Yep.
You're not going to live forever.
Yep. Yeah, get out and enjoy it.
Like Frankie said, I'm doing it my way.
I'm doing it my way.
And the only time in the almost 4 years we've been on the road that we had issues with planning is that we planned everything out and then we went to California. And with California, planning doesn't really matter because everything's on fire.
Yeah. All
the time, every day. So I felt really lucky and really blessed because we were supposed to start out at Crescent City and move into Yosemite, and Thousand Trails was canceling all of our reservations because they were shutting down parks and evacuating. So we just went down the coast, and I feel really lucky that whether it was Thousand Trails or something else that we got into them, like even Encore, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was truly amazing that happened, but flying by the seat of my pants is not how I like to travel.
It's not our style for sure. Some people it is. Some people can travel day to day and it don't bother them at all. And maybe it's based on their rig size too. You know, if you got a smaller rig, you can kind of bounce in and out wherever you need to go.
Yeah.
But when you got a larger rig, sometimes you have to do a little bit of planning.
So we hope that this video has been helpful for you. Please give us a thumbs up. We want you to smash up that notification bell. Bob wants you to.
I definitely want you to subscribe to our channel if you haven't subscribed yet.
Yes.
Comments. We want to know, you know, how do you guys travel? Are you still in the planning phase of? So let us know if we can help you in any way with the planning side of
we will.
Getting around the United States. We will any way we can.
So guys, remember, we're HetteshWorld.
Come travel in our incredible world.
Bye.